Professor Wise Guy here with another 5-minute fix on the importance of the first impression. Specifically, the first impression you make with a title. Now, perhaps you don't put a lot of stock in the importance of a good title. You might agree with Shakespeare's Juliet. What's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Now, before you start leaning too hard on that line, remember that Juliet was a love-drunk teenager who winds up dead at the end of the play. Do you really want to take advice from her? You see, the problem with Juliet's line about roses is this. Even if a rose called by another name did smell just as good as this thing we actually call a rose, it has to get smelled. Do you want to smell the fragrance of my putrefying chicken entrails? No, you're probably going to pass on that glorious opportunity. A title is the name that we give a piece of writing. It might be an essay, a video, or a speech. We could be talking about the subject line of an email. The title is a first opportunity to grab hold of a reader and not let go. Why would we waste it? Now, what do I mean by wasting that opportunity? I've wanted to drag my wife out to Yosemite for years. When we finally get that trip on the schedule, I'll probably create an event on my calendar. It's just for me, but I'll still want to give it an interesting title. I'm not going to call it something feeble. My vacation, Yosemite trip, our trip. Those would be awful. Instead, I'll probably call it something like Half-Baked Journey to Half Dome. Yo, we're going to Yosemite! Or Yosemite without Sam. Well, those are just the dumb ideas that pop into my mind. If I'm willing to give a mildly clever title to a thing that's just for me, and perhaps my family, how much more should I work toward a good title on something that other people will actually see? Titles are important because they provide that first chance to grab a reader. Or, when they aren't so great, a first chance to push the reader away. What should a title do for you? It should suggest the topic of the work. It should catch the reader's attention. That's it. Most people are pretty good at doing number one, but they often take a pass on doing number two. Now let's consider an example, heading back to the Shakespearean play mentioned above. Imagine that you're writing an essay in a literature class and that you'll be exploring the meanings behind and the origins of the family names in Romeo and Juliet, of the Montagues and the Capulets. That could be an A paper for you. What will you call it? Romeo and Juliet paper. Well, that's terrible. I'm not even going to dignify it with a real critique. The origins and significance of surnames in Romeo and Juliet. That's much more informative. Instead of it just being about the play in general, I know that it'll discuss the names. That's an improvement. But honestly, do you really want to read that paper? I know, you probably don't want to read any paper about Romeo and Juliet, but humor me for a couple of minutes. Since you already probably think that any essay about Shakespeare will automatically be as dull as chicken entrails, I'm going to have to work hard to grab your attention. Maybe I'll try one of these. What's in a name? The surnames in Romeo and Juliet. Family Feud. Wherefore art thou Montague? Of course, I might be able to come up with better titles if I actually wrote the essay. Here's the bottom line. Do not waste the opportunity to make a good first impression with a strong title. Make sure your title introduces the topic of the whole work. And do your best to make the title catch the attention of the reader and to draw them in. Or you could always just call your work paper number one. That's the sort of thing that fires the imagination. How do you create a memorable title? Share your ideas in the comments below. Beyond that, I bid thee adieu. In other words, get out of here.